In the latest version of MixEffect, you can now bring in your ATEM's multiview, and you can even control it using the touchscreen. Hi, I'm Aaron Parecki. If you're not familiar with MixEffect, it's a great app for controlling an ATEM from an iPad or your Mac. There's a whole bunch of options along the side to control everything from your audio mix to running macros. You can control what's in your media pool. It's basically a complete controller for any of the ATEM products. In the latest update, now it actually supports bringing the multiview in through the new feature in iOS 17 that allows you to connect an external camera. So let me walk you through how this works. First, there's a couple things you're going to need. Of course, there's an iPad, or you can actually run it on your Mac as well. You'll also need a USB hub if you're using an iPad, and that's to give your iPad power, but also so that you can plug in a capture card. You'll need some sort of HDMI capture card. Now, most of them should work by default, but I'll link to the one I'm using down below, which is actually the one recommended by the developer of the app. It's super cheap. It was about $15 on Amazon. Now, the reason you need a capture card right now is because currently the ATEMs only output the program output over USB. It was announced at NAB that there will be an update to at least some of the ATEM models that will enable the multi-view out of the USB port. Once that is possible, you won't need this capture card anymore. So in the meantime, you'll need to set up something like this. From your ATEM Mini Extreme, take an HDMI out into a capture card, plug the capture card into a USB hub that's plugged into the iPad. The USB hub can also then be used to give your iPad power, and if you wanted to, you could also run an HDMI out from the iPad to capture the screen. And a bonus would be to use a USB-C hub that has an Ethernet adapter. That way you can actually give a wired connection to your iPad, which will always give you a better result. With everything plugged in, you're ready to actually go into MixEffect to set it up. From the main switcher page, this is where you can actually create a customized layout with the different control panels that you want. I'm gonna go and tap up in the corner here and click Edit this page. This is where I can add the new USB capture feature. In this top section, I'm gonna click Add a new panel, scroll all the way down to the bottom, and there's a new option here called USB view. If I click the USB view, you see it put it into this list here. I've got now at the bottom. I'm actually gonna move that to the top because I want it up at the top so I can click Edit and then just drag this up. Click Done, close that. If it doesn't pop up by default, you'll want to make sure you actually choose the capture card here from this list. This capture card is plugged into the USB hub that's plugged in here, so it's showing up as just USB video. The last thing you want to do is tick this little box. If you're using this with an ATEM Mini Extreme, you have one multi-view for the Extreme, so there's only one little option here. And if you tap that, you'll see that these labels change, and actually now these labels are drawn by MixEffect. This is what lets you control the ATEM from the touchscreen. If you don't have this enabled, this is literally just the video feed that the ATEM Extreme is sending. And as you're switching between angles, you'll see it reflected here. But if I click on that button, then I can actually now double tap to change angles from the screen right here. In order for this to work, you will of course have to have set the output of the HDMI that's being fed into the capture card to multi-view. Let's go back to the computer here, and I can go to in the ATEM software control to outputs, and make sure that my output 1 is set to multi-view, or if you've plugged it into HDMI 2, set that to output 2. If I change output 2 to program, for example, and then we look back at the iPad, now this doesn't make any sense because it's drawing the multi-view labels on top of the video where it thinks the multi-view screen is. So I'll go back into here and just change output 2 to multi-view, and now back here, it looks correct because it's actually sending the multi-view out. If you do have a bigger ATEM like the Constellation 4ME that I'm using, then you'll actually be able to use any of the multi-views in here as well. If I go back here and connect to my bigger ATEM, Constellation 4ME, let's go ahead and get that connected. Now when I go add the multi-view option, let's edit this page, add a panel called USB view, bring that to the top, close that. And now this is the multi-view out of the big ATEM that I'm using to actually record this. And since this is the Constellation 4ME, I actually have 4 multi-viewers. Now I've got 4 buttons there. So if I tap on one, you'll see the labels line up correctly. But if I tap the wrong one, it's actually showing a different multi-view. So that doesn't make any sense. I'll go back to 1. And now I've got touchscreen control of my big ATEM as well. So that's your quick update on the latest version of MixEffect. There's a couple other new features in the app as well as a new Mac version, but I'll link you down to the developer's channel where he goes through everything in detail as well as a more detailed explanation of this new feature. As always, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.